Hello everyone, this is Poppy and welcome back to Pop Culture Reactions. With recent news that Meghan Markle will be making podcasts with Lemonada and that Lemonada will be distributing Archetypes from now on, I thought now would be a great time to list some of the top reasons why Archetypes didn't work. Starting with number 5. She doesn't understand what archetype actually means. Archetype actually means a typical example of something, or the original model of something from which others are copied. And here are a few examples of synonyms to help you understand it further. Form, ideal, model. But Meghan seems to use archetype when she actually means stereotype.
Mindy is so much more than any archetype could ever touch, even if she jokingly concedes to being archetyped as the spinster.
Stereotype? I don't understand why she finds it so difficult. I think because their company is called Archwell, and she wants to play on the arch at the start of that. I don't know, but her constant misuse of the word archetype is plain irritating. Number 4. She has amazing celebrity guests, but she doesn't interview them properly or cuts them off. For example, episode 1 when she interviews Serena Williams. It isn't until 10 minutes into the podcast that Serena actually starts talking. 10 minutes. Why get such a successful athlete on your show and not make the most of it is beyond me. I just want to pause right here to ask you what you thought of the podcast. Did you listen to it? What did you like or hate about it? Comment down below. The podcast really shows off her narcissism because she spends almost every episode talking about herself. She always opens up her podcast by talking about herself, and when her guests talk about their experiences, she tries to relate it back to herself. For example, in the first episode, Serena Williams says it was difficult being up all night with her sick daughter and then having to play the next day in the French Open. Meghan suddenly relates it back to herself and how when she was in South Africa, a room near where they were staying had a small fire and she was worried about Archie. Then she complained that she had to go back to work despite the fact that Archie was nowhere near the fire. Meghan, we're listening to Serena. Keep focus on your guest. Learn how to interview them better. Don't focus on yourself. Besides, having to go to an event in South Africa is nothing like Serena's experience. Serena plays a physically taxing sport in hot weather. She needs all the rest she can get. Staying up all night before a game could be the factor between winning and losing. The fact that Serena did that shows how she is a good mother and a committed tennis player. Meghan's was nothing. Number 2. Her tone of voice is very disingenuous. She's acting like she's some kind of faux intellectual with the way she speaks.
Divas Live was a cultural touchstone. Performances from we may hold today. I mean, my classmates and I were so into this version of divadom at the time. We even named our next high school dance. Oh gosh, it's embarrassing to say it. Yeah, we called it Planet Diva.
Her voice is actually becoming quite grating to listen to be honest. One thing's for sure, Meghan absolutely adores the sound of her own voice. However, she was absolutely the worst on the episode To Be or Not To Be, where she couldn't say the word bitch.
You hear someone say the B word,
Stop with the fake little innocent laughs and coyness, Meghan. The word is bitch. And finally, number 1. The reason why this show is the worst is that you don't come away with anything from it. She brought on a variety of different successful women to dissect words that have apparently held them back, but you as the listener are left with no takeaways. There is no way to overcome these labels. So the purpose of this podcast is to simply talk about labels, complain about them, and dissect them and go on our merry way. What a ridiculous concept. Meanwhile, it's really debatable that some of these labels held back or hindered the guests. For example, Mariah Carey was brought on to talk about the label diva, but she's always owned and played up that label. I've been to her concert. I've seen her in interviews. She absolutely plays it up any chance she gets. It's part of her and her bit, and it's part of what makes her so successful. If anything, diva has helped Mariah. This is why Meghan's podcast is pointless. She's trying to delve into these labels, but she doesn't talk about how the guests can actually utilize them. Anyway, that's it for today. Please let me know your thoughts about the podcast. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.